So we're in a very difficult market for real estate investors. It's actually a very bizarre market, right? A lot of investors, a lot of the newbies, and the guys who are just hanging on the fringes have died off. The guys that are killing it, well, they're still killing it. You know what I mean? So what does that mean for you, wherever you are in your scale? And, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the market going into Q4 and then going into 2024 as well. And what we see as data providers that work with over 1,200 investors every single day. And so what we'll pass on to you is what investors that are crushing are doing it and what investors that are just barely hanging on and what they're doing. So what happened last year when the interest rates went up? Everything went sideways, right? Obviously, people stopped selling their houses. Inflation went crazy. Interest rates went up to combat it. And a lot of investors did the worst thing possible, which is completely cut their marketing. I'm going to say this a couple of times. That's the worst thing that you can do. But for some people, they didn't have a choice, right? They're already running on probably very, very thin capital and they had to do it. So every single provider out there will tell you they took a 40 to 50% cut. Any provider that tells you they did not is lying. Every single one of us took a 40 or 50% cut overnight. And what happened within this last year is that it started building back up again. So in our investment business, we definitely took a hit in Q4 of last year. And then Q1, it started kind of rebounding. And then Q2 was really doing well. And then the summer months always kind of plateaus a little bit. And we predict that Q4 will probably slow down just a bit, but it always slows down in Q4, right? So what's going on with the housing market? The biggest issue that people are having right now is that there's very little inventory. There's little inventory because people are not selling their house because it's hard for them to get away from that 3% loan to go into another house. They just don't have it unless they have a lot of equity. So they're staying in their houses for longer periods of time. So what does that mean? That means that you need to target lists that are, more on the stress side. Foreclosures are up right now. Short sales are up right now. We focus on absentee because you know what? Most landlords are default landlords and they can't afford that turnover rate. So if a tenant leaves and they got to put another, $5,000, $10,000 to fix that property back up, they can't afford it. So they got to sell it as is. So we hit that pretty hard. So what I see on interest rate is that it's probably going to stabilize. And then what they predict is that by the end of Q3 or around Q3 next year, it might drop below 6 again. So with Q4, what's important is that gotta make sure that you're cutting out all extra expenses in your business and make sure it's super lean. But you do not want to stop marketing, okay? You just want to make sure that your ad spend is spent more appropriately. So right now, Skip Force's revenue has increased to even its highest level, which was Q2 of 2022. And we are growing at a 10 to 15% clip. Why is that? It's because most real estate investors understand that cost per lead in every other campaign is exponentially high. In direct mail, your conversion rate's lower, cost per contract's higher. PPC, the exact same thing. You have to commit a lot to your PPC to get any type of return, right? So what are people doing? They're going back to cold calling again. Now, texting is dead. Texting on a mass scale, that's done. Okay. You can't do that. I mean, it's just not going to work anymore. But cold calling isn't going to go away. People are coming back to cold calling. And what we tell our clients is this: do a sequence marketing campaign. What does that look like? What that looks like is that you have a list. Say you have a list of 100,000. You get a skip trace. Every top tier provider, you're going to have the same KPI between 40 to 60% accuracy ratio, depending on your list, right? 40 to 60%. I tested millions. This is 100% true. What happens to that other 40,000 on your list? What are you going to do with that? Most people just get another list. Don't do that. Okay. Don't do that. You skip trace that with another provider, right? And you could squeeze out another 20%, maybe 15%. But here's what you should do if you're a direct mail guy. Instead of mailing 100,000, you should call that first 100,000. Make sure that you get the right person contact. Make sure that is the number one one KPI from the callers, the right person contact. And that means that 60% of your list, you will know that you have that phone number. Okay. What do you do after that? Great question. Here's what you do. Now you mail the other 40%. Okay. Or the other percentage that you could not find the RPC. Because once you find the right person contact, the RPC, well, you could contact them over and over again, creating that conversation. You could retarget them. You could do all kinds of things. You could send them information. Like you should already have a stat campaign after a conversation of things that are important to them, right? Maybe they are scared of interest rates. Maybe they're wanting to retire. I mean, whatever that is, everybody, there's only a certain list of things that people are concerned about when they're wanting to sell their house. Have a campaign already built out. And that way you send them something every month, every quarter to show them that one, you're a pro, two, you know what you're talking about, and you're not just one of those fly-by-night investors, right? So that's how you squeeze out your marketing campaign. What's going to happen in 2024? 2024, I don't see a doom and gloom. I mean, everybody is expecting this huge drop. Maybe in multifamily space there is because they have those short-term arms that are coming through. That's already starting to happen, right? But in single family space, I don't see it, man. I mean, foreclosure is going to be up a little bit. I mean, the same problems that we're having right now. But here's the thing. If you want to accumulate rentals, that's your thing, make sure it pencils, okay? Make sure that you get a loan for around 6%, 6.5% right now for a rental. Do not keep a rental that does not cash flow and you're losing money every single month. Do not do that, okay? So I think that coming up in 2024, there's a lot of opportunities for the investment space. One, people are messy. That's just how it is. Even back in the 80s, when there was double-digit interest rates, investors still thrive because people are messy and they need help. Okay. They're going to lose that house. They're going to lose that house to the bank. And guess what? That loan is going to be unbelievably valuable because it's at a 3 and 3.5%. So you need to understand creative financing. If you do not understand that, go on YouTube and learn as much about it as you can, because then you could take over that mortgage, give them the money that they need, and then move on. Okay. Move on and you can do a lot of things for the house. And I think creative finance is going to be a big, big thing, but still same rule applies as a rental. It has to pencil. It has to cash flow. Do not come out of pocket too much or you're going to be in trouble. Cash is king right now. You want to liquidate if you can. Anything that's costing you money, get rid of it. Okay. I'm getting rid of rentals that are nothing but problems for me right now. So, and then because I know that I could add more moving forward in 2024, that's going to be more beneficial to me because I know that prices have stabilized right now. In some regions, like I live in Austin, prices have dropped because it inflated so high. I know that right now it is buying time and I got to be really, really smart with my cash. So on the marketing side, same thing, the same sequence marketing, meaning that I'm going to take whatever list I have, I'm going to skip trace it. At Skip Force, obviously we provide top tier data and as low as 4 cents if you buy a huge bundle, but it's typically around 5 or 6 cents. You're not going to beat our value, right? Even our property data, you get a $60,000 a month for like $150. It's unbelievably cheap. That is subject to change, by the way, so you should jump on that. But you should skip trace it. You should call those or have your team call it and focus on the right person contact. If you don't know how to do that, contact me. We have a service that's a white glove service. I can set up your whole cold calling campaign for you where it's your dollar and you're in charge. We just do everything else for you and you do it right. So going back, make sure you got the right person contact. Then anything you cannot get a hold of, direct mail them. Then all of a sudden your marketing spend goes exponentially more, right? And guess what? You're going to buy a lot more houses. So if you need any tips or you have a few more questions, DM me or hit us up on Skip Force and we'll be able to help you out with all your cold calling needs. We help investors maximize their cold calling campaign by providing top quality data at the best possible price, but also we will help you set up your team the right way so you're maximizing your marketing spend. I hope that helps. Check out our next video that will show you how to run an effective cold calling campaign.